Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 56 of the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I am joined, as always, by that delightful little pastry full of shellfish and cream cheese himself, Crab Rangoon. Crab.
Oh, okay.
I don't even like those fucking things, I gotta tell you.
All right. First of all,
I like
solid
crab.
Introduction.
I like cream cheese.
I like crab. I like rangoon,
pastry.
but when they go together, I just don't care for them.
No, it's not even good. I don't know. Like somebody help me.
Okay, all right. No, first of all, good introduction.
Thank
We're
you.
already off to a strong start. Second of all, I think I'm going to put this in the show notes. There was an Atlas Obscura article that Anne showed me the other day, which went over the history of crab rangoon and how it's a, like, fucking abomination of food stuff that does not belong anywhere and does not really belong to any one place. And it's really interesting. And frankly, I kind of love crab rangoon for the tacky, tiki garbage it is.
Okay, this is interesting. Like I said, I like most foods. Just generally most foods I'm cool with. And all of the components of crab rangoon on their own are, I mean, like fried dough. Beignets are one of the most delicious things imaginable. And that's just fried dough. Crabs, the Maryland blue crab is the world's most delicious organism. It's just facts, people. And cream cheese, fucking love that stuff. Put it on bagels every day. Well, I don't eat bagels every day anymore. I eat oatmeal now because I'm trying to live. But I think you understand what I'm saying, is that all these things are good, but somehow a crab rangoon is lesser than the sum of its parts.
A crab rangoon has more rangoon than crab in it, to be honest. There's no actual crab in crab rangoon outside of a few very specific places.
Oh, wow. So the crab is just part of the name.
Exactly.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. I thought there was actual crab in it.
It's made to look and taste like crab, but it is not crab. It is some sort of, I think the technical term is garbage fish.
Oh, imitation crab. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, that's just bycatch.
I'm glad we can educate our audience with this, the most literate of Warhammer 40,000 podcasts.
The most highly educated Warhammer.
The highest concentration of unused degrees in all of Warhammer podcastdom.
Wow. Don't you have a degree in like art or something though?
In media arts and animation from a school that doesn't exist anymore. But
Right.
yeah.
Okay. But you use that degree.
Sort of, yeah.
I have a degree in fucking ecology, crab. Which I love the fact that I studied ecology in college. It was fantastic, but I don't fucking use it. I point cameras and microphones at people.
I forgot you called me Crab Rangoon at the beginning of the episode, and I thought that was just like a vocal tick. Like, I just say crab now. I'm that much of a Marylander.
Oh, not a fucking Marylander. Okay, let's get into the fucking show. Enough of this digression. I wonder if our listeners actually like this beginning of the show when we fuck around for a while.
I imagine if they're listening in like Spotify or whatever, they're just mashing the right arrow key going forward 15 seconds at a time until we talk about some shit that is not Crab Rangoon.
Oh, whatever. Okay.
Let's mash that MF right arrow key and hit the bell, and don't forget to subscribe.
15-second skip key. It's the most useful key in the world. I don't know about you, man, but I've been listening to podcasts on Spotify lately. Yeah. Ever since I put our podcast on Spotify, and then I was like, I better just pay the $8 a month or $9 a month or whatever and just be a fucking subscriber, because whatever, man, I'm putting a podcast on it. I should like give them a little bit of like, hey, come on, little wink, wink, nudge, nudge action.
You should actually factually put your money where your mouth is. Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts on Spotify lately, and listeners, our podcast, like I said, is on Spotify. So if you did not know that, you can listen to it there. But I got to tell you, man, the Spotify desktop app is fucking slow as shit.
Right? The worst part is, the only thing worse than it is the iTunes app. And that was what I was listening to podcasts on before. The iTunes app is like really cool. You'll like listen to a podcast and be like, all right, this is pretty good. And then it just stops. And you're like,
and you can't do anything about it. You're like,
and you go back to it and it restarts from the very beginning. I'm like, man, I really hope I remember the timestamp that this decided to crap out on me at every time I listen to anything. So if you have a better podcast app, please let us know about it. I'm incapable of Googling this information.
All right. Well, actually, let's do the real show. Let's get into the aspects.
It's a bit within a bit.
I want to talk about something first. That I have forgotten to mention for like the past 2 or 3 episodes. I think 2 episodes, and it's the gift that Mike Brandt gave me right before the wedding when we were having lunch together. And I want to talk about this because it's really fucking cool. Mm-hmm. But so the art for the Kill Team rulebook is a bunch of Primaris Raven Guard dudes in a classic battle pile.
Yeah, the patented Space Marine battle pile.
So I had a print of that hanging in my office in our second bedroom of our apartment that our friend Dylan had sent over a while back. I had gotten a cheapo frame for it and slapped it up on the wall. It looked great. Hmm? But Mike got me a copy of this thing in a very nice frame that on the back of it is signed by the entire Games Workshop studio team. And on the front of it is signed by the artist and Jervis Johnson himself. In gold
rules
pen. And it's the nerdiest thing I've ever been given, and I love it. And it's hanging above the cat's litter box.
A place of high honor.
The highest of honors. It's the only wall space that made any sense. So that's where it is. I love this thing. And when you come next week to my house, you'll get to see it again.
I'm stoked to see it in its place of honor. We were actually in the little groomsmen email group we had beforehand. We're like, hey, we should get something for Dan, right? And Mike Brandt's like, I'm going to Warhammer World. Does anyone, would that be a thing? And I was like, is there any way you could get like a Necromunda thing signed or a Raven Guard thing signed? And he says, let's see what I can do. And then Mark under that says, I have no idea what any of this means, but it sounds good. Go for it.
Yeah, not everybody in my life is a Warhammer fan, which is good because if everybody was, it'd be pretty, one-dimensional.
Well, yeah, then you wouldn't have anyone to convert into being a Warhammer, of course.
Yes. I work on my brother every time I see him. I'm like, hey, man, because when we were kids, he used to play Blood Angels. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, hey, man, those Blood Angels, they're still good, right? They're still pretty good, right? And he's like, all right. And he definitely doesn't have the time, the patience, the inclination, or any of it, but I still give him a little, come on, man.
Like, the shocking thing is when I met your brother, I see him and I'm like, okay, I see the resemblance. He looks a lot like Dan, but a little differently proportioned. And then I turn around and I hear you two talking to each other, and it is, I cannot tell who's talking. You have the exact same voice. If he came into the studio and replaced you for an episode, it would probably take me 20 minutes where I was like, he doesn't really understand what he's talking about here, does he?
How would that change from our normal show? I actually had an idea for Patreon content that, is not Warhammer related, but personal finance related, because my brother's a CFP. Just to be like, all right, Badcast listeners, here's some help with budgeting, and have that conversation. But then I was like, nobody's asking for that, and 2, we sound the same, so it's going to be very confusing.
That's a very me, myself, and Irene version of a podcast. The problem is I've got 2 problems there. One is we already get the comment, where am the Warhammer I came for, on the one person who unsubscribed for our Patreon, and it's like, we get it, it's kind of ancillary content. It's just shit we like and like to talk about. But I don't think anyone is looking for genuine financial advice in the annals of a paid Patreon bonus episode of a wargaming podcast, not just any wargaming podcast, but Warhammer 40,000 specific podcast, in an episode with 2 guys who sound the same and one guy who has actually factually no idea what's going on. Because you do not want me in that conversation, because I have nothing of value to add to anything concerning finances or money or anything of the sort.
Well, that's actually something we can touch on for a moment, if you'll indulge me.
Oh, sure. Talk about how bad I am with money. Because
no.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not about you being bad with money. It's just that you have expertise in areas in your life.
I do,
and so do I.
Ostensibly,
most people do, but not everybody has expertise in personal finance or in taxes or in investing, and engaging the services of somebody who does have expertise in that is, perhaps something that you should think about doing, Campbell.
Okay. I think I should in my actual life, but I don't think I'm going to be looking for that information in I don't know, I'm not going to start looking at like comedy podcasts looking for financial advice.
No, that's a good point. All right, let's fucking move on for fuck's sake.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're getting
Let's
into
talk
the
about
aspects
Warhammer
here.
or something.
What's on our hobby radar? All right, hobby progress. I'm going first because as we discussed last show, there is a fucking form to follow with this podcast, Campbell.
I'm subscribing
we're not flying
to it
by
now.
the seat of our fucking pants over here. I got notes.
Well, joke's on you. I'm not wearing pants because I'm in my house.
You don't have to. I'm at work, so I am wearing. Well, I'm wearing shorts. I'm not wearing pants, but fuck. Okay. I'm still working on my Repulsor Executioner. I'm almost done. I'm highlighting the body of it. I am mostly done with the first layer of highlights on that. And the first layer is always the one that takes the longest. The second and third take comparatively, a lot shorter. So I imagine I will be done with that within the next day or two. And when I am done with that, I am officially entering bonus time. And I am going to attempt to do some intercessors in a couple of days. I might be able to do it, which is just the rest of my Power Fist Sergeants and a couple of auxiliary grenade launchers. And after that, I will be Nova ready. And I am unfortunately scrapping the plans for getting a display board done.
No,
in time for Nova. It's just not going to happen. And like, even though I've taken this week off from work, I was in the car for like 3 fucking hours today. And like on Monday, I actually had to go do a work thing. Like I had to go somewhere to a hotel we're having an event at and like do a site visit and like do all this shit, even though I'd taken the week off, but it was still like, oh, well, somebody's got to do it. And I'm like, fuck. Mm-hmm. It's great. Work is great. I love work. It's super not exploitation and it's super good. I love
being exploited. It's my favorite.
Yeah. So working on the Repulsor Executioner, getting close on that. I can't wait till it's done. It's already looking really good. And I am very excited to use it to blow up your Repulsor.
Oh, turn one
at the Badcast Beatdown 2019 Sports versus Anime, which is 8 days away.
And it couldn't come sooner.
I'm very excited for that. But we'll talk more about that at the end of the show. Campbell, tell me what is going on in your aspects. What's up for your hobby progress?
Well, true to what I said last time, where I said Calgar would be finished if I wasn't recording right now, an hour after that episode was done recording, I finished Calgar.
Fuck yeah.
I think the only thing that took me any longer was I had to varnish him like the next day. So he's done. Fucking love him. I've posted pictures. Dope model. Hear me gush about that model a lot in the previous episode if you want to. Let's see. So I also built some aggressors, which I would describe the painting of them. The process of painting them is one I can only describe as hateful.
Yeah, I got a lot of fucking nooks and crannies. I think I talked about this when I was painting aggressors.
You did, and I listened, and I was like, okay. Then I painted Calgar, and I'm like, he's like an aggressor, but more. This should be fine. And the difference is with Calgar, he's in an open pose, and his arms are out of the way. And he also, like, I left the cape off, so he'd, be a little sub-assembly, which made it nicer. With these guys, I couldn't really figure out a way to do a sub-assembly of them because of their arms being linked to their backpacks, and there's wires and cables hanging everywhere. So I just built them and put them together and have been doing them that way. And it is a massive pain in the ass. And yes, if you look like behind the grundle of Intercessor number 3, you'll see like, oh no, the area between the back of his elbow and the backpack isn't properly shaded and highlighted. Well, fuck you. You're not going to look there anyway. So I'm working on those guys, and I'd say they're actually most of the way there. Like I finished edging the blue. I'm edging the red right now. I did some checkerboard patterns I need to clean up on them. They're coming along pretty well. I also got the new to me, Primaris Chaplain.
Yes.
Anne and I had our 4th anniversary, and that was her gift to me. So I built him up, and I'm waiting for it to be not humid as shit outside so I can prime him. But most importantly is I finished my display board. So this involved...
I've seen it, and it's fucking fantastic, dude.
Well, the thing is, I'm proud of this. Then I went on Facebook and I saw like a post from Sarah Kaiser, and there's her display board she's working on where it has like gravestones that you can hit like light switches, and they cause LEDs to pop up in various places. I'm like, shit, why do I do this anyway?
Well, doesn't she at this point do that for a living?
Sort of, yeah.
Sort of, kind of?
Sort of, yeah. Sort of, kind of, yeah. She's at least living adjacent with that stuff, but the stuff, hers looks great. I don't know where she posts it. But
I feel like if you're working at Games Workshop and you're like at your desk, like building a model or a fucking diorama or something, and your boss walks by and it's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And you're just like, I'm fucking building shit I'm painting shit over here, okay? And he or she is, they're just gonna be like, "Good, fine." Are you getting the rest of your work done? Yes. Good. Enjoy.
Unless that is actually your work, in which case, again, carry on.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm building mine, I was building
what
mine.
I'm trying to say is her life is better than mine. That's cool for her, I guess. But your display board does look really, really good.
Thank you. It was a learning experience building it. I haven't done like scratch built terrain building like that since like high school, where it was all just, playing around with cardboard and foam core and shit. I had my how to build Citadel terrain or whatever from the 90s book, where I figured out how to do the hills built out of layers of corrugated cardboard covered in glue and sand, because Dylan was like, "Oh, I can come over with like a hot wire and some insulation foam and we can work on it." But also, I'm at the other side of the country right now, and I won't be back until, the day we're recording this right now. So I needed a tighter timeline than that. That wasn't very helpful.
Yeah,
I'm not going to break into my friend's house to steal his foam cutter and insulation foam.
I feel like at this point, I'm surprised you don't have a key to Dylan's house.
Actually, yeah, but it's been a while since I've cat sat for him. Anywho, building this whole thing, I built up some hills in corrugated cardboard as it is instructed in this book, which meant I spent a day just with a box cutter going ham on some Amazon boxes. I also cut up some out of production Warhammer Fantasy Battle movement trays to use for the roads going through it, which also involved cutting out some tiles specifically to make it a little more uneven and broken, which is super cool because that plastic is really thick, and unfortunately my skin is not. So there is a not inconsequential amount of my blood on that fucking road right now.
Ooh.
Well, there was. I painted over it.
Right. I would hope so. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not an active biohazard. You're fine. But
didn't everybody kind of make a stink when there was some fella on the Something Awful forums who used like actual bones, like chicken bones or roadkill bones or something?
I think his name was Hollis Mason, and he would use like actual animal bones for his things. It was up there with the dude who used like ground rice or tea leaves or whatever for the basing on some of his Nurgle models, and then got surprised when those actually became biohazards.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, be very careful with what biological materials are used in any of your models. Anywho, it's sand, it's the Urban Conquest terrain set, it's the, I think, Sector Imperialis basing kit too, which I used for like a sewer thing. I will say the Sector Imperialis basing kit is some of the softest detail plastic I've seen in my entire life.
Ooh.
The shit kind of reminds you of the vacuum form sort of craters they did years ago.
Yep.
That looked like they were sort of sculpted out of Play-Doh. But the Urban Conquest terrain looks super cool. And my favorite thing I did in this entire fucking board, I did like tile work. I painted, alternating checkerboard tiles. I did a bunch of textures. I figured out a new snow technique. There's this sewer grate from the Urban Conquest set. And I put that down, and under it, there is I cut out some plastic art to form with it, and cut a bunch of pieces of like las guns and just broken shields from Fantasy and just random bits of tech junk I had lying around, and most of a skeleton, and made it look like they were submerged in this pool of goop underneath the sewer grate. And you need to get up real close to actually see it in there, but I'm very proud of that silly little detail.
Awesome, dude. I'm going to have to make sure to check it out when I see you next week.
I hope you get to, and I think that's the board itself. The next part that I think was actually more of a pain in the ass, albeit one that caused a little less anxiety for me, was the building on top of it. Because at the back of it is one of the new Sector Imperialis ruins that I painted up just for this thing, which it was fun sinking magnets into the display board with the power drill. And it was not quite as fun, but still pretty cool to sink magnets into the columns of the building. Mm-hmm. But that thing is a fucking pain in the ass to paint. Dude, when you get around, you're painting these buildings yourself for your whole table.
Yeah.
Do not take the time to individually highlight anything in these fucking things. I counted and there were 80 skulls on this building.
Yeah, I'm not fucking
80.
doing that. I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to use an airbrush to wash them, and then I'm going to use a big fucking brush to dry brush them, and then I will be done.
I went a little further than that, obviously, and I also did like a lot of metallic banding, but those buildings, they look great. I love how it came out. when I build more of them, paint more of them, I will not do it the same way.
Well, I mean, learning is a part of life.
That it is.
Okay. Is that it for Hobby Progress for you?
That's it for Hobby Progress.
You playing any games?
No, I have played a bunch of the Warhammer Combat Cards app, which is an extremely fun game with 3 different currencies and a lot of timers, but it's kind of fun.
Okay, I have not played any games either, so let's move on to new stuff. And this time, there's not a whole lot to talk about, unlike
Not
last
really.
show.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah, so there is the new Space Marine Codex, but we're going to do an exclusive review, just like every other podcast of the new Space Marine Codex in this episode. So stay tuned for that. But there are a couple of things that I do want to mention. The Kill Team starter set, there's a new one. And this one, Campbell, is my 2 favorite armies, Space Wolves and Tau.
My favorite thing is that it's 2 of the existing Kill Team sets just smooshed together.
Yep, it exists.
It exists. It certainly takes up space in a store.
Somebody will buy one.
It's got a lot of terrain. Honestly, if I had interest in playing, if I had interest in 5 more Reavers and also Fire Warriors and also more terrain than I can actually currently fit in my setup, I might get it.
Yeah, I do have interest in 5 more Reavers. My next project one of my next projects is going to be Knife Reavers because I don't have any and I want them. Yeah,
I think what I had in my notes from like 2 weeks ago it was like new Warhammer, new Space Marine Codex, hell yeah, new Kill Team starter box, hell,
hell, yeah, but and then
it's fine.
They released a couple new bounty hunters for Necromunda: Apollos Cage, who's not bad rules wise, and Krotos Hark, who is completely terrible rules wise, but I think they're both really cool models.
Hark is an armorer though, and it's the only way that Goliaths can get him though.
Yeah, or munitioneer, yeah.
Munitioneer, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I
played this game.
He's well, he's pretty poorly statted and skilled and armed, but otherwise it is a cool model. It's a very cool model. So Jules and I, we've talked about this. Jules and I have about trying to work a way to get actual named bounty hunters into our future campaigns, and what we've decided on is basically give them to players for free. With the idea that we're going to do player-driven bounties in our next event, Necromunda event that we do, where people can like actually put down their credits on bounties for other players' fighters, and then there'll be some sort of mechanic that will get bounty hunters into your gang for free, which I think is honestly a lot of fun. Yeah. So but because the bounty hunters the models are great. Pretty much across the board for the named character bounty hunters. Yeah. But man, like 3 of them are good.
Well, they're expensive as hell and they don't stick around.
Yeah. No, they stick around if you they could stick around for a couple of games, maybe.
Yeah.
But otherwise you're paying for them for one game. Like for 230 credits for one game. Or the bafflingly expensive Eros Slagmist, who is a guy with a las pistol. For 270 credits.
He has like a crack grenade singular.
Crack grenades, las pistol, and like some armor. And he has the Medicae skill. So
yeah, his whole thing is he takes moisture from things because he sucks.
he's a Necromunda cyber vampire, and we love him.
Yes.
So yeah, I like these models a lot, especially the Apollos Cage model, because he sort of brings in a bunch of different gang motifs or themes into one model. Like he's got sort of like Orlok boots and pants on, but he's got like a Dalak cape and then like a very Goliath face mask with a cool spiky knife puncher thing.
Yeah, punching dagger, like classic Warhammer punching dagger.
Yeah, and he looks really cool. Krotos Hark model, very like Goliath, but with a full face mask. Both, again, really cool models. And I'm eventually going to get them because if Jules and I are going to do this fucking bounty hunter scheme, it is going to mean that I'm going to have a stable of bounty hunters for everyone to use, which is going to be ridiculous. But I'll have a lot of fun painting them. That's for sure.
Well, speaking of extremely cool models that probably won't see much use, they've been showing off the Blackstone Fortress escalation stuff.
Yes.
Which continues the tradition of amazing models. I just don't have time to paint.
Yeah, there's some really cool stuff and like really cool stuff in Blackstone Fortress. And we've played one game of Blackstone Fortress at Adepticon last year.
Like two rounds, and one of those involved me punching you. Yeah,
yeah, and it was fun, but it was also like at the end of a long day, and everybody was super tired, and it was. I would like to play Blackstone Fortress, but I don't have time to paint Blackstone Fortress.
Yep, that's kind of my problem right now too.
All right, well, let's move on. Look at that. We're moving on out of Auspex already.
Yeah, no, the only other thing I had here was that I was going to get those Ultramarines dice, but $35, hachi-machi, but then I bought them anyway. I love them. They are so stupid. But, all right, they're stupid. They're hard to read, but they feel so good to roll. Like, they're really nice and square edged, and they're a good size. They're actually almost slightly too big for the little tube they come in, so they don't really like to sit in there easily, but I love rolling them and then counting them afterwards and trying to figure out what the hell I actually rolled. It's really good. Yeah, there's symbols on every face of these dice. It's terrible. Amazing. It's so cool. Yeah, I can't wait for the Raven Guard ones. If Raven Guard, I imagine at this point White Scar's got them, so. I bet the Raven Guard ones are so stealthy you can only see what numbers they are under a black light. I fucking hope so. They're all 6s. Fuck you. All right, let's move on to We Make the Call. So first thing I want to point out is Chris Stanton. Via email, he sent us some pictures of his dogs. Hell yeah, they're super adorable. Especially the one where the smaller dog it looks like the smaller dog is attacking the camera with its teeth bared. And I was get after it. Get after it, fella or lady. That's what we in the biz call a heckin' good doggo. Yeah, so Chris, thank you for sending pictures of your pets to us. We love that sort of thing. We've gotten a lot of questions about WYSIWYG lately, so I am going to address one of them. So here we go. This one is from Christopher Cowie via email. And he says, I built myself a unit of Hellblasters recently. I'm primarily in this hobby for the cool models, so I built them with the power cables and backpack as I thought they looked cooler. Officially, this makes them heavy incinerators. However, in games, I never used them as such as their rules suck compared to the other variants. My question is this. How firmly should people stick to WYSIWYG when playing games? Are you a WYSIWYG purist? Should minor differences like this be okay even at the tournament level? How far is too far? This is way more than one question. I expect this will come up a lot with the new Space Marine Codex since all 3 intercessor bolt rifle types have now become good after 2 years of people only building the rapid fire version. So Campbell, there's like 5 questions in there, but do you think you can remember them well enough to answer them? Okay, I'll start with how far is too far? The answer is enough. As for WYSIWYG, what? I think so long as things are consistent, it doesn't really matter. So if you have Hellblasters with the heavy plasmas and Hellblasters with the assault plasmas, and you're like, okay, the assault ones are assault, but the heavy ones are heavy. You're like, okay, well, that's not WYSIWYG at all. Or that is WYSIWYG. But if you're just like, they're all just the rapid fire ones, like, okay, cool. But when you start having like, this squad has heavy ones and this squad has heavy ones, but they're actually modeled with these different ones, that's when it starts getting confusing. So I think it's just, you need to be consistent. And that's really all that super matters. Because you don't want people to get confused and, go after the wrong thing or expect the wrong thing from something. Just be upfront about what those are, like before the game even starts, just so you can kind of be on the level there. As for a lot of little things, like if a squad has a plasma pistol and you didn't have the points for it, it's actually a bolt pistol, I'm usually cool with that. But again, make it very clear to people. And with any sort of conversions you have, like especially the more wild conversions or more high concept conversions out there, like something that Peter would put together, just be very upfront and very clear with what everything is and be very patient if people have any questions about it. Yeah, so I think I'm with you for the most part. I think you just gotta be consistent. If you've got like 3 Hellblaster squads and all of them are armed differently, and you're at the beginning of the game, you're like, they all have rapid fire weapons. Don't worry about what they look like. Like that's fine. That's consistent. Yeah. Or if you're like all of these heavy Hellblasters actually have rapid fire, but these ones with the assault, they have assault.
that's consistent. That's fine. Just be consistent and explain things to your opponent if you're doing anything different. A lot of the times, I use my assault Hellblasters as rapid-fire Hellblasters. Now, it's not that much of a stretch because the only thing that's different is they have a little doodad on top, but that's it. Like, otherwise, they look exactly like rapid-fire Hellblasters. And, you know, I've never had an opponent say, oh, those are actually assault Hellblasters, and wag their finger at me or anything. So as long as you're straightforward and consistent, I think you're okay. But, Christopher, thank you so much for the question. That's a good one.
But especially thanks to the dog pictures.
Yes. Well, that was a different Christopher, but yes.
Shit.
Yeah. Well,
shit.
Good job.
Now I'm the jerk.
You've always been the jerk.
Spoiler alert, episode 56. You finally found out who is the jerk.
The true jerk detective. Yeah? No.
No.
Okay.
I was going to say, in this situation, I am the jerk. I am the Steve Martin.
Okay. Yeah, that's a movie. That's a film.
Yeah. No, we're not batting 1,000 right now. Let's move on.
I haven't seen that film.
I might have seen it when I was a wee lad.
All right, listeners, write in and tell us if you've seen The Jerk starring Steve Martin.
Cool. That's audience engagement.
Audience engagement. What's up?
Drive up those metrics.
All right. We're going to talk in this next segment about what's new with Necromunda. So I've been writing these articles for Goonhammer recently called Necromonday with our friend Jules, and we're having a lot of fun with them. And the articles are actually doing well because there's one thing that doesn't really exist on the internet, and it's quality Necromunda content. There are a good amount of people, a lot of people who play this crazy, crazy game, but nobody's really writing articles about it online. So Jules and I were like, hey, why don't we organize events, we pour through these books, and we know a lot about this game. Why don't we start writing about it and actually put out some quality stuff? And people seem to be enjoying it, which I'm very thankful for. But I wanted to spend some time and just give everybody an update on what's going on in Necromunda right now, because I will fucking die on the mountain that this is one of the most fun Games Workshop games out there. If you can get into a campaign or an event with fun people, Necromunda is a complete fucking blast. So I want to talk about what's new in Necromunda. We just got the Book of Judgment, which came out a few weeks ago. But I want to rewind the tape a little bit here, Campbell, and talk about the Book of Peril, which I think came out like 4 or 5 or 6 months ago.
Yeah, with Cal Jericho and Scabs in the cover?
Stubbs,
yeah.
MTV's Cribs.
Spuds. with Cal Jericho and Spuds McKenzie on the cover. He's a prestige pet. He's Rarity 13.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, the Book of Peril, yes. And the Book of Peril turned what we had been playing. I mentioned it on the show briefly, but it turned what we had been playing, Necromunda, and it had dialed back the clock to late 90s Necromunda with a lot of the crazy shit that we missed from that game, with a whole slew of new trading post items, like the Ming vase or the Mung vase or whatever you want to call it, with things like the Wild Snake drink, Second Best, the whiskey could kill you if you're not careful, Archaeotech devices, just a ton of cool stuff that, you know, if you played Necromunda back in the day, that you remember from the extensive trading post list in those days. So it brought back a ton of stuff like that. It brought in the bad zones and bad zone events, which I'm very excited to use at our next Necromunda event with Peter, because he's got that whole jungle-themed board. Ooh, and so we can do a dome jungle with brain leafs and brain leaf zombies. And I don't think I touched on brain leaf zombies last time I talked about the Book of Peril, but let me tell you how this works, Campbell. Every time a ganger goes out of action in a game where you're playing with brain leafs, they don't die. They become neutral zombies on the field, and the players take turns activating them.
Oh, that rules so hard. It's one of those things. It's going to make the game longer, but it's going to make it a lot more fun.
Exactly. Now, Necromunda being a stupidly complex, just absolute slog of a game, I contend is a good thing. And I know that there are people that are going to think I'm crazy for this, but the Book of Peril takes it and makes things, instead of just like a regular Zone Mortalis game or a regular Sector Mechanicus game, like now you're playing in the Dome Jungle, like I mentioned, but or like on a sump sea or a warp tainted section of the Underhive, or like it's crazy cool. So the peril, of course, in the Book of Peril is relating directly to the bad zones. And then their whole, another D66 event table of crazy stuff that can happen in the game, including the aforementioned Brainleaf zombies. Yeah. So
that's delightful.
The Book of Peril, I think, was a extremely good buy for any, especially Necromunda Arbitrator, but any Necromunda player, as it's just a ton of cool stuff to get to. But they didn't really introduce anything new that can help you at the beginning of a campaign, except for the guild alliances, which are these consortiums, right, of NPCs, basically, that you can get and put into your gang if you meet the criteria of your alliance. So, like the different guilds, the Water Guild, the Fire Guild, or the Pyromantic, whatever
like
guild.
The Corpse Guild.
Yeah, the Corpse Guild, who are my favorites.
That's my favorite grindcore band.
The Slaver Guild, the Guild of Coin, and the Guild of Iron, or the Bullet Guild, like the Bullet Farmer from fucking Mad Max. They're taking a lot of cues from Mad Max Fury Road with the development of Necromunda, and it's great. But the way these things work is you can become allied with one of these factions, and as long as you're doing the things that they want, they will help your gang with more money or with support in game, in like these little mini gangs that will follow around. Now, there's not models for these guild delegations. Or guild representatives yet. But
they've shown off some artwork of some of these things, like the Corpse Guild and the Water Guild and so on. And I don't know if they're just like early explorations or they're a little further along. But what they've shown it was like some like Forge World Open Day sort of thing a few years ago. Looked incredible.
Yeah. And people have been modeling their own, guild representative parties to go with their gangs. Yeah. And the stuff
all
on
the
the
Iron
internet,
Sleet guys are onto that sort of thing.
Yeah, and it's all, you can go and check it out. And it all looks fantastic, but these things are really cool, and they can make your gang a whole lot better. But all you got to do is meet their terms and not piss them off. So, very cool stuff with the Book of Peril. But then the Book of Judgment comes along, and the Book of Judgment, like, it's so good, guys. It's so fucking good. The first thing they do is they introduce a whole nother gang, the Enforcers, the Necromunda Enforcers, the Necromunda Rent-A-Cops. The Necromunda Goon Squad.
The Necromunda Paul Blarts. Yeah. See, all right, now, here's the thing. Right as I'm getting like notifications right now, my friend Nick is currently painting his Enforcers styled like Judge Dredd, but painted like the 90s comic version of Judge Dredd. So they've got like all the leather on them is green, and they've got yellow stripes and red stripes, and they're very colorful while still keeping that Dredd aesthetic. And they look dope as hell. And I'll respond to his asks for comments and criticism later, but God, those minis are nice.
Yes, they are really cool. And the way they work in a Necromunda campaign is a bit different from a regular gang. And in a couple of ways. The biggest way is that they can only use Enforcer weapons. So they can go to the trading post, they can buy weapons at the trading post, but they can't use them. They're limited to only their, which is not as bad as it sounds because their weapons are all pretty fucking good. But it means that in later stages of a campaign, when other gangs are like way upgunned, Enforcers might lag a little behind. But that's okay, because in the beginning stages of a campaign, Enforcers are going to be very, very powerful.
Are they really expensive per guy though? Because they are better equipped than any other gang.
Yeah, and they come with like actually really good armor. Like right off the bat. But the Book of Judgment is, well, we'll get there when we talk about the new trading post options in the Book of Judgment. But the Necromunda Enforcers, or the Palanite Enforcers, are honestly, I think a very, very strong starting gang. Like for 1,000 credit, beginning of the campaign gang. Like the other gangs are going to have trouble breaking through the armor. The other gangs are going to have trouble making this gang run away because, you might not have like 8 or 9 gangers like a Cawdor or an Escher gang can spin up at the beginning of a campaign, but your guys are going to be tough and they're going to be well equipped. Now, they are more geared towards short range games. So you get them out in a Sector Mechanicus game, you might be able to outrange them pretty easily and take them down if you're like a Vansar gang or a Delok gang. But, you know, they have the armor to get through that and come at you.
Yeah, but they also aren't super punchy. They're mostly like shotgun and rapid fire bolter range.
Yes. They're more short range shooting than they are beat you up in combat, because their melee options are the shock baton, which is a solid okay of a weapon, and then the shock stave, which is legitimately a good weapon and weirdly 5 credits cheaper than the shock baton. But
love Necromunda's balance.
Necromunda's balance. Okay, you know what? I'm going to talk a little bit about this because I talk with Jules about it all the time when we're writing these Necromunda articles. Necromunda is a completely unbalanced game.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
Like within,
it's not a tournament game.
Within every single category of thing you can do in Necromunda, there is a balance issue. And gangs are one of them. I mean, Khador gangs are at a sincere disadvantage right off the bat. Especially compared to Vansar gangs. The enforcers, like, they have access to a lot of great stuff, but, you know, they're not, at the end of the campaign, they're going to struggle. Skills are a great example of this. In every skill category, there is like 1 or 2 good ones, 1 or 2 whatever ones, and then 1 or 2, this literally does nothing, please don't take it skills.
Yeah, they're dumpster skills. Like, I love the ability I love the idea of my Goliaths tossing dudes off of gantries and into holes and so on, but it's never going to be as effective as just hitting them with a power hammer.
No, and the whole brawn skill tree is almost completely useless.
Yeah.
Compared to what you could take as Goliath. Like, if you're not taking ferocity skills as Goliath to make your guys tanks, to make them shrug off damage, then I don't know what the fuck you're doing. Yeah, okay, hurl opponent is a cool thing that you can do for some serious, awesome wrestling moves.
What about that Iron Gob that makes it so when an enemy who is unarmed fights you in melee, you're a little more durable? Like, they're not good.
Yeah.
They're largely not good. I usually just do stat increases. I almost never take skills in my guys because Goliaths don't have access to any great ones.
That is actually a really good point. When it comes to advances in Necromunda, like, skill ups are very expensive. I think it's like 9 XP for a primary skill choice. Now you get to choose primary skills, and that's useful. But then it's 8 XP. Then it's 9 XP, or it might be, doesn't matter. Then it's a lot of XP for a random roll on a secondary skill choice. You don't get to choose your secondaries. You have to roll for them, which is never good. Never good. And then there's like 12 XP to randomly generate any skill. And that's even worse. like what happens when, like, I did this at Cinco de Necro. I was like, I had a champion level up and he was fine with his stats. I was like, I don't really need to give him a stat. I'll just buy a skill. And I tried to buy a shooting skill because shooting skill, I wanted fast shot. That's a good one. But here's the thing. I could have rolled gunfighter, and this is on a guy with a grenade launcher, and gunfighter means you ignore the -1 to hit for firing 2 pistols at once,
and you can't take weapons away from people in modern Necromunda.
This was a champion, so I could bought him a couple of pistols and mitigated it, but doesn't matter. I could have gotten gun. I ended up with hip shooting, which is actually an okay skill, especially for a blast weapon character, which means you get to move and then shoot as part of an action.
Yeah.
And I think it might be even double move and then shoot. So he could like run 10 inches and fire a frag grenade, or fire a frag grenade and then run away kind of thing. So it turned out fine. But like, when you're rolling for skills, you're fucking up already, because you have chances of getting supremely bad ones. And then let's even take a further, or take this example even a little further, and tactic cards. You know how many fucking different tactics cards there are in Necromunda?
I've read your article about them. There's a lot.
It's like 175. Okay? And I would say that maybe 20% of them are good. And so that leaves 80% as either meh or downright terrible.
Yeah.
And the whole tactics system in Necromunda is bad. And we talk about this in it wasn't a Necromunda article at that point. It's a Goonhammer article. But I'm going to be re-upping because there was new tactics that came out with the Book of Judgment. Like the whole tactics system is just broken in Necromunda. But if you go to the article on Goonhammer and read about it, I have a suggestion of how to fix it. And I think it's actually a good suggestion. So that's a teaser to go to Goonhammer and read my article on tactics cards in Necromunda. But it's unbalanced. So just like everything in Necromunda, everything is unbalanced. But that kind of, like, it's fine. It's fine because it's space hobos murdering each other with trash weapons is what Necromunda is. And it's fine that things are unbalanced because, again, it's not a tournament game. It's an event or a campaign game where you're just doing flying elbows off third story gantries onto enemies below you, and you both die in the process.
Yeah, no, it's very much a role-playing experience, I think, in the guise of a skirmish battle game. Yeah. in a lot of ways. Yeah. But like I kind of knew that people were onto that when there was one point when I was like, I'm struggling with my Goliaths. What are people doing for tactics? And I found someone on Reddit being like, the optimal way to build a Goliath gang is to just take 2 renderizer champions and tank every game till you can get a bonus in rep or whatever for induce. And it's this long power gamey sort of thing. And pretty much every reply uniformly was politely or impolitely asking them to leave. Right. Because no one's power gaming this. If anyone is power gaming Necromunda, they are actually playing the game wrong. Yeah. And I will not say people are playing the game right or wrong when it comes to 40k or AOS or Shadespire or whatever. But if you're trying to play power game Necromunda, you are playing Necromunda wrong. You are not playing it for the right reasons.
So listeners might be confused at this point as to why we love Necromunda, but I think part of it is because the game is so wonky that it really forces players into a more narrative experience as opposed to a power gamey tournament experience. So every game of Necromunda is vastly more casual than a game of 40k or Kill Team or Blood Bowl or Adeptus Titanicus or 30k or AOS or whatever else. Everything it's kind of a joke. And I think that's why I like it the most.
Well, that's the thing. It's a joke, but you're all in on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you better all be in on it, or else someone's going to get kind of salty, which happens with me a bit more often than I'd care to admit. But when your characters are also all you're building these characters up, you're building your gang is going to progress, and the triumph of seeing your champions get even better and do cool stuff, and then the heartbreak of them eating shit and falling 11 inches down into a giant meat processor or whatever, because of course there's a giant meat processor, it's Necromunda. That is what the game's about.
Yeah.
I personally think the game needs, the only thing I would really change, keep a lot of the imbalance, you can tweak it here and there, you can keep a lot of it. I just think the game needs a reformatting into a more legible system.
100%.
Because I think Jules said it best at the first Necromunda event we did, was there is an amazing game buried in here.
Yeah.
And it is wonderful. The art is fantastic. The atmosphere is fantastic. The new rules they add do make it more complex. And it's what I want for this sort of experience. And it makes it this great role-playing sort of experience too. But just, man, it's hard to find shit. And it actually gets in the way of playing the game.
One of the conversations we've been having a lot with our listeners lately is about rules bloat because of the questions we fielded in last episode's We Make the Call. Is 40K too bloated as rules-wise? And I said no. And you said maybe. And our listener who wrote that question, Lee, said it is. And we've gotten some feedback from him and from others about how they feel that it is bloated. And I get that. Necromunda, the rules bloat in Necromunda is insane.
Yeah, but it's part of the design almost.
You want to talk about a game with way too many fucking rules? Necromunda is it. And I will, again, die on this fucking mountain. That's cool. Because it's not a game where you've got 100 models on the table. It's a game where you've got 10. And you can have gunk ammo on fucking Jabroni over here who's going to shoot his auto gun with gunk ammo at your fucking asshole, and then my dude with a flamer is gonna pop out of a corner and flame that asshole, and he's gonna be bursting in the flame instead of on a 4-up, but on a 2-up because of the gunk ammo. And I just love saying gunk ammo.
And that happens on top of a gantry. So we need to look up where the rules for gantries and falling off gantries are. Okay, he needs to make an initiative test. He failed his initiative test, so he's going to fall. He falls. Let's measure this. Let's actually measure this to get the strength of the hit based on the distance he falls. And what did he fall on? He fell on another ganger. That's awesome. Does that ganger catch on fire? Oh God, is that a hazard next to them? They're in a radiation trap. And like seeing those crazy interactions, this like Rube Goldberg machine of misfortune that is a good Necromunda game. Fucking rules. And I do not wish that on almost any other game, but in the context of Necromunda, I absolutely adore it. And I love that they've made a game that facilitates this. It is everything you remembered about like old school Necromunda in a more playable, but still very poorly formatted system, I think. And I love it to death. Like I really do. I have not played it since Cinco. Like, or not. No, I've played. We had the
you had
little
a couple games. Yeah.
Yeah. We've had a little campaign we were doing for a while. We finished that first campaign cycle and haven't gone back since. It's been a few months, and I've kind of been okay with that because I feel like I kind of got a lot of Necro all at once, and I was more excited about 40k. And I don't mean to like crap on Necro by saying that sort of thing. It's just like, you know, time and a place for things.
Yeah.
But I adore the game. Like, it's wonderful. I just want a second edition that just kind of condenses things. Because, like, I know you buy every single one of the little books that comes out. The Book of Judgment, the Book of Peril, the Book of Burgers, whatever. And I waited until the first collection of some of those, and I'm just going to keep doing that. Because I know it is, like, the thing that will keep the game alive is those regular releases, not necessarily the big yearly or even, you know, half-yearly condensations of those releases.
Yeah.
And I know that's what keeps the game alive, but man, I've only got so much bookshelf room. I've only got so much brain room. So I'm trying to keep it to just as few books as I can.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about the release schedule for this game real quick, because I know we're kind of getting long in the tooth in this discussion. We want to get to our main discussion, but it's like once a quarter or so, maybe or so is when they do a new plastic kit after they did, you know, all the gangs.
Yeah.
And they're going to be doing Guilder gangs at some point in the future. We're like 99% positive. But, you know, doing the Enforcers as like this quarter or whatever is plastic gang release is great. I love it. I'm super down with it. Great looking kit. They're going to have, there's weapon options they'll release in Resin later, I'm sure.
Yep.
But last quarter was Cal Jericho and Stubble Bubble. And I feel like releasing a kind of niche bounty hunter special character in plastic was kind of a misstep. I think cop-out might be the wrong term. Like, yeah, of course I wish it was like, oh, brand new gang with all kinds of new shit. But just like, you have one plastic release per quarter, using it on just a dude and his smaller dude friend, who I know, like, there's a bunch of books about him. I've never read it. I've only read like a few short stories about him. But I feel like that was kind of you only have so many plastic release slots per year. Why use it on that? Which I guess goes back to a previous conversation we had about like, oh, if they're going to release characters, why aren't they releasing my favorite characters? But I'd rather them just come up with like a new gang, or like if even it was like a like Weirdos of the Underhive sort of set, or Weird Creatures of the Underhive sort of set. I don't know. It seems like it would have been better served as a resin character like every other bounty hunter.
No, I feel you. And I think I agree with you. I mean, bounty hunters are fun, but they're not a core mechanic in Necromunda. Mm-hmm. Core mechanics are gangs. And like if they want to be really supporting this, the releases they should do, they should be putting out are stuff that people are going to actually use in a game.
Yeah, because like even the Ambot felt like almost kind of like that, but every gang could use them, and we've played multiple games with multiple Ambots in them. And yes, mine is my Technicolor dumpster son, and he is awful, but I still love him, and I can take him with any gang, which is the same sort of thing with any Dramatis Personae. But like Blood Bowl doesn't do plastic characters; they just do plastic teams, and they do plastic big guys. And like I can see it following pretty much the exact same release schedule, so it's kind of a weird thing. It was like, oh, that's the plastic thing right now. I don't know. All right, that's all right, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. They're lovely models. I don't want to criticize like the sculpting of them or the painting of them. The paint jobs on them are fantastic, but I don't know. It seemed like kind of a. I feel like something more substantial could have gone in that slot.
All right, noted. Well, let me touch on this campaign real quick, and then we'll move on. So they introduced a brand new campaign in the Book of Judgment. Now, I remember when Gang War 4 came out, I was raving about the idea of the Dominion campaign, and we've played a full Dominion campaign, and it's a ton of fun.
Yep.
And it was way better than the sort of wonky campaign rules they had in the original publishing of this version of Necromunda. Well, Campbell, they fucking done did it again. The Law and Misrule campaign in the Book of Judgment is awesome. And
tell me more.
It brings together some stuff from the old Outlanders book. If you remember that book from the 90s version of Necromunda that I love and missed in this. And in that, alignments. So you can choose to be a law-abiding gang or an outlaw gang in the Law and Misrule campaign. And there is a ton of stuff that goes into it. Like if you're law-abiding, you can get all your like house favors and talk to your house and go to the trading post and sell outlaw gangs for bounties, or captured outlaw gangers for bounties and all this stuff. But if you go and buy some illegal weaponry or get some illegal stuff in a game, and you have to start rolling dice at the end of the game, and if you use like a couple of doses of gas to give your character some psychic help in a game, like you got to roll 2d6 or a d6 for every illegal item you use in a game, and any ones, you're immediately outlawed. And you lose reputation. You lose your hangers-on. You lose all your bonuses for being law-abiding. And, like, sure, now you're an outlaw and you can, like, work in that area. But there is a mitigating factor here, and it is you can always declare your alignment is different every time you before any game. So even if you are an outlaw, you can be like, I'm law-abiding. Now, there's a reputation hit that you're going to take every time you do this. So, things could be, better, or I'm sorry, things could be bad if you keep doing it and going back and forth the whole time. But there's mechanics built into the game, into this campaign called intrigues, that you get to, you draw multiple intrigues every game, 3 per player per game, right? And on these intrigues, if you complete them during the course of the game, you get rewards. Some of them are like serious rewards, like 150 or 200 credits, which is wild. Some of them give your guys skills.
Ooh.
Like some of them have like these very, very interesting reward structure, but they're all classed as either law-abiding or outlaw intrigues. So if you're an outlaw gang and you start doing a bunch of law-abiding stuff, then your alliances, your outlaw alliances, might get pissed at you because you're being too goody-goody, and they might leave.
Oh, that's cool.
And if you're a law-abiding gang and you start doing a bunch of hood rat shit with your friends, then you have to start testing your law-abiding status, and you could get outlawed.
Do enforcers come into this system at all?
Yes, enforcers are law-abiding, and they can only be law-abiding. So, but every time they fail an alignment check, they lose 5 reputation.
Wow.
Chaos cultist gangs are only outlaw, and they can only do outlaw, or they can do law-abiding shit, but if they fail a reputation check, they lose 5 reputation. Yeah. And all the other gangs can be either outlaws or law-abiding gangs. So that's a really cool mechanic. They brought in rackets instead of territories. So you're like fighting over the drug trade or smuggling or whatever else in the game. And it's I think it makes a lot more sense than just territories.
Yeah, that gives a lot more flavor and depth to the setting too. Yeah. Which I think is extremely cool. I was hoping there'd be something where it's like, oh, if you're too illegal, the enforcers come and bash your heads or whatever. They get a bonus against outlaw gangs or whatever. I think that is worked into the game. If you have please tell me more.
Yes. So reputation plays a larger part in the Law and Misrule campaign than it did in the Dominion campaign, where if you have high rep and you're law abiding, if you have like 13 or I think it's 15 or higher rep, for every outlaw ganger you turn in, like that you capture or kill memorably in a game, it's not 100% of their bounty you get 200% of their bounty.
Holy shit.
So if my gang if my gang are outlaws and your gang are law abiding and you have high rep and you capture Randy, who's got an autogun and he costs 70 credits, right?
Yeah.
You capture him. If I don't get him back through a rescue mission or I can't for whatever reason, you sell him off to the guilders, you get 140 credits for that guy.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. And So the campaign has layers upon layers upon layers of stuff going on with reputation, with intrigue, with the rackets. The rackets, the enhanced boons, they're not just like, oh, this is an Orlok racket, so if you're Orlok, you get it. No, you have to control rackets that are complementary to the rackets you want. Like if you have control of a racket for off-world contraband, like your enhanced boon only activates is if you have control of the ports. Or the smuggling ports or whatever.
Oh, God, there's crunch within crunch within crunch.
Yes, it's really cool, and I'm not done. So they also brought in a new economy sector, a new shop, if you will, and it's called the Black Market. So there's the trading post, and then there's the Black Market. Law-abiding gangs, they can visit the trading post, and they can, you roll your 2d6, and you add your whatever, and you can get your rare items or whatever. They cannot visit the Black Market unless they pass an intelligence check. Because if they go to the Black Market acting like a bunch of cops, then nobody will sell to them. And then it's -2 on the illegal. It's because it's not rare items; it's illegal items that you test for the Black Market. But outlaw gangs gain full access to the Black Market, and they can use it just like the regular trading post. But they can't go to the trading post in the same way, and they have to do a cool check instead of a leadership check to go to the trading post to make it so they're not spotted by the authorities as they go.
Fuck.
So outlaw gangs can't hire bounty hunters. They can't, and they can only hire outlaw hired guns, and vice versa. So law-abiding gangs can't hire outlaw hired guns, and so Book of Judgment has a bunch of new hired guns for outlaws to hire, like named characters, dramatis personae or whatever. The amazing amount of weapons and items in the Black Market, it's crazy. There's Eldar weapons. There are like Adeptus Mechanicus weapons. There's all this crazy there's like the Yuvath puzzle cube, which it's actually terrible in game. Nobody will ever use it because it's a 6-inch unwieldy weapon. It's real bad, but it's like it's like crazy cool, flavorful stuff like this. There's a ton of new armor and armor add-ons, so your armor saves can get crazy, which is going to shift the meta in later campaigns to where meltaguns are actually useful.
That's it, because they've never been useful in any version of Necromunda.
They're going to be now when you've got players running around with armored overlays, which add 2 to your armor save the first time you take a save. Then add 1 the second time you take a save, and then are not used for the rest of the game.
Oh, that's a cool mechanic.
Yeah, it's got permanently degrading armor.
Yeah, a blade of armor. That's really cool.
Yeah. So there's new alliances with all the different outlaw factions, like the Cold Traders. Imperial Imposters? What? Fuck yeah. Okay, Imperial Imposters. They are people who are dress up like members of House Helmar. That are infiltrating into the hive structure, the socioeconomic structure, and the character you can use from this alliance in game is a guy called a Master Charlatan. And he fucking rules. It's so like, oh my God. Part of the alliance structure is that if you are pleasing your alliance, they will give you guys or girls or whatever to use in game. And the guilds will give you like a little guild representative party, which is usually 3 to 4 people. And some of the cold traders, the Xeno tech traders or whatever, they have that too. But there's a couple in here, the Book of Judgment for the outlaws, like the Master Charlatan for the Imperial Imposters. But then there's like rogue houses, and they give you their like rogue disgraced nobleman or noblewoman is added to your gang, and they fucking kick ass. They're one character, but hoo boy, they come correct.
It's like Spirers working the other way up.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yes. So there's these layers upon layers upon layers of shit going on within the Law and Misrule campaign. And the next time we do a Necromunda event, we are going to run a Law and Misrule campaign.
Yeah, geez, I feel like like I said earlier, I haven't been buying the little books. I feel like I've missed the fuck out. This sounds incredible.
This book is fantastic. It's got so many cool things in it, and it's just the potential for crazy shenanigans happening in the game of Necromunda with the Book of Judgment has just increased by an incredible degree. And I think if you're into Necromunda, if you're an arbitrator Like, and if you're running campaigns and stuff, you need to get it. It's so much fun. Ditch your Dominion campaign. Say, all right, guys, great, thanks for playing. We're doing a Law and Misrule campaign now, and really have some fun with it.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, let's move on to our totally exclusive, 100% great review of the new Space Marine Codex.
But so yeah, this thing is hot off the presses. It's going to be changing everything for, again, like right before Nova, changing everything, which is
Campbell. There are a lot of changes in this book.
Yeah, it's a lot of bigger change than I think people were really expecting.
Well, the first thing you notice is a completely different format from every other codex that they've released in the past 2 years.
Yeah, it's like interior. Like, all right, so you still got like a cover showing Ultramarines in battle.
Yeah, but what kind of cover? It's a softback.
It's a soft cover.
It's a
which
soft
I
cover.
was not expecting. Like that new form factor. That's like, I think it's actually gonna be really nice since they're doing all the supplements coming out too.
Yeah,
it's gonna mean these things will fit nicer in your bag. It's like having the Necromunda books.
Yeah, it won't be as heavy. Except all the Necromunda books are hardcover, so don't worry about that.
No, the Gang War one wasn't.
Yeah, but
the last one I bought.
The recent ones are. So it's cool. You're good. Don't worry. You're cool.
Well, as far as the cover goes, I love the cover of this. Like it shows Ultramarines in battle.
Yep.
And it's like there's like a grittiness, a dirtiness to it, where it looks less digital and less clean than most modern artwork.
More painted.
More painted, which I really appreciate that sort of aesthetic. It's a nice sort of throwback.
And Chaboy, right there on the cover. Your buddy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my big buddy.
Marnius Calgar, gracing the cover of the Codex Space Marine book once again. What a great time.
Yeah, so like you get in there and it starts right off the bat by telling you what Marines are all about, how they play, which I always appreciate because like every Codex is somebody's first. So getting that sort of lowdown of what the army is going to be inside is really nice.
Yeah, and once again, the format way different.
Yeah, it's black and white.
No color.
Which again, very surprising because I know that's kind of been the big push they've been doing is like they're renewing full color in Warhammer Fantasy at the end of it. But I guess with like, since they're not doing digital codexes and they're updating things pretty frequently anyway, I think to keep the cost down, they're going with the sort of soft cover and black and white art interior.
It makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense, like financially, economically. Like I know I said I don't know much about finances, but this makes sense to me. But you get that very typical front loading of art and lore, and there's some classic art in here, which I'm so happy to see again. Like the big picture of the Ultramarines, like at muster, seeing that again is like that's one of my faves. I love seeing that every time I see that in a codex or really anywhere. It's a beautiful piece of artwork.
It certainly is, and the artwork in here always good with Games Workshop. I'm actually a huge fan of I guess they're doing away with the whole data sheet thing. Like that's
they're condensed data sheets. Like they seem like really condensed data sheets.
But they've got these wonderful wire illustrations. Like that are next to each of the choices that you can make. I'm a big fan of these things. I think they look great.
See, the thing I really like about it is I always find a lot of the photos to be very prescriptive.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's what these guys look like. All right, it's what they look like. I got to paint them that way. While like these little bits of art next to them, like they're pretty straightforward pieces of art, but they still look a little different from the models. They still give you some ideas on how you could, add some detail here and there. And, like actually, I think the thing that shocks me most about these, like, first of all, I'm not really seeing many Primaris dudes in here. Actually, I don't think I'm seeing any Primaris dudes in here.
Yeah, that was a real weird thought for me coming into this, noticing a complete lack of Primaris Marines in this codex. That seemed like it was a big push for them.
Yeah, I don't know if they're coming in a future expansion or if they were just sort of a flash in the pan and they're just kind of going back to the roots with this stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, a lot of people will be happy that I guess Primaris Marines are no longer in the codex because there's a lot of Primaris hate out there.
Yeah, I guess that outcry just kind of got heard by someone at Games Workshop and they decided to just, ease off the gas a little bit and enforce these the classic Space Marines, the one that we're a bit more into. So
I'm going to say, Campbell, I was a little miffed at that with me having an all Primaris army now completely invalidated by this new codex that doesn't have any Primaris in it.
I mean, that's always been the thing, though, is like, how is Games Workshop going to make you buy another Space Marine army? That's always been something they've struggled with, and I think we figured out how they're going to do it this time around.
Well, here's the good news, is I already have a small Space Marine army.
Oh, this is true. So you can bring those guys back
I'm excited to bring my old Raven Guard. I think they're not painted nearly as well as my current Raven Guard, but hey, I'll bring them back out, and we'll see what goes on with it,
Yeah. See, now I was excited about that because I'm like, oh, cool. I can bring my Black Templars out, but none of my characters were in there. My Crusader squad isn't in there. So I'm guessing those are all coming in a future update, but I can build my own chapter rules and I can get something that works a lot like Black Templar.
You can. And these build your own chapter rules, really, really cool and innovative way to add flavor to your Space Marine army.
Yeah, so it's not just my guys are blue Marines, your guys are red Marines. Like, no, I can make my guys Ultramarines. I can make you can make your guys Blood Angels. Like, it's extremely cool.
Well, one of the things that that makes this interesting though is so you can select a bunch of different chapter traits for you guys, but depending on how many you select, like you've got to take disadvantages too.
Yeah, it's a bit draconian, I think.
Yeah,
but I do think it's cool that Blood Ravens are in the main codex this time.
Yes, very happy about Blood Ravens being in there. A lot of cool stuff in here.
Yeah, but all right. So here's the thing, though. There's a lot of stuff that's just not really there anymore. Like, I guess all the joking about Primaris Lieutenants just got too much because they're not in there.
Not in there. Not one Primaris Lieutenant. Not even any lieutenants.
No lieutenant, no lieutenants whatsoever. So I guess we're back to that. Well, you can get a cheaper captain that's kind of like it, but it's not really the same. But like no Centurions,
nope.
Thunderfire cannons,
nope.
Hunters and Stalkers are all. I guess none of those were selling.
Back to basics.
There's only one kind of dreadnought though, and it's my kind of dreadnought. My box dread is the boy here, which I'm down with that.
Yeah.
But the thing that really confuses me is like they're trimming the fat here because people have been complaining there's like too many Marine choices in the game. Like even I've complained about that, but they've chosen some really weird places to trim the fat. And then of all things, there's 2 Predator War Scrolls. There's one for Annihilators and one for Destructors, which I guess is the weapon loadout you can do for the 2 of them.
Yep.
And they're just things that were already in the kit. It's not even a new kit.
Yeah, it's an older kit.
Yeah, so like I like that they're fleshing out the rules, that sort of thing, but I feel like just splitting that into 2 War Scrolls wasn't really the thing.
No, wasn't a great idea. They've also gotten rid of the Land Raider Redeemer completely.
Woof, yeah, it's not in there anymore. The Crusader's still there, and the regular Land Raider's still there.
That's a real fucking head scratcher there, bud.
About to say, yeah, 'cause that's half of a plastic kit that's just got to go right in the garbage. Sorry, Salamanders. Unless maybe that's coming in the Salamander bonus book, which I think they were going to do.
Yeah, some cool things. Captain Shrike here for my Raven Guard guys. He can now have his own squad of veterans.
That's fucking dope.
That he rolls around with. They're called Shrike's Wing, and they're really cool.
That's cool. I hope they make models of them soon.
They all have lightning claws.
Hell yeah.
So as you can imagine, it makes them somewhat expensive.
Yeah, the prices for things seem to have fluctuated a bit. Like, I know Thunderhammer Storm Shield captains were really expensive, or really, they're really over. They were everywhere. Like, there were 3 in a lot of lists. Yeah. And so they jacked up the price of Thunderhammers and Storm Shields. It's like 40, 50 points, those 2 things on a character now.
I know, it's completely wild.
Yeah, but it's also 2 points for a crack grenade, which, why? Why would I ever spend 2 points on a crack grenade?
Yeah.
Especially when I'm not seeing power levels on any of these units.
No, I guess they're getting rid of power levels, huh?
Yeah, I guess, you know, it's got to be the push towards a more competitive game they're going for. They're cutting down a lot of choice in the codex to make it more balanced. They cut out all the stratagems. So I guess we're just back down to the reroll, auto pass, interrupt stratagems, which I mean, I know a lot of people who are against rules bloat are going to be super happy about that.
Very happy.
But all the Maelstrom shit's gone. Because like who's playing Maelstrom missions anymore? Nobody. So we're just going back to basics here and playing just the Crucible of War or whatever missions.
So here's something interesting. I thought a very interesting direction that they're moving. They seem to have brought back front, side, and rear armor facings for all of the vehicles.
Oh, I like that granularity again, though. But it's kind of wild. My Land Raider's toughness 14. That's a buff I was not expecting.
Toughness 14 is very good.
Yeah,
it's like a Titan.
Pretty much, which I mean, it's like it's weird that the vehicles are basically getting like movie Marine type rules and the troops aren't.
Well, interestingly enough, I don't notice any saving throws on any of the vehicles. So that seems like a nerf to me.
Yeah, that is true. Although the AP of everything's kind of fucked up because like a bolter is AP 5, which is insane.
Yeah.
There's that movie Marine gun right there. An AP 5, strength 4 AP 5 bolter, that's going to cut through everything.
Yeah, but then again, a melt-a-gun.
Yeah, it's only -1, which we were saying Melticons are useless in Necromunda. I think they're going to be useless in 40k now, too.
I agree 100%.
But, like, let's go back to the special characters. Because,
Yes.
like, I think there is still one Primaris Marine in here who is Calgar. Like, they kept that bit of fluff in there, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't read all of it, but, like, I guess it was an old piece of artwork, but he's always been huge in that piece of art. So I guess he was always a Primaris Marine.
Yeah.
We just didn't know it before.
It seems like he got a little bit of a nerf. Not nearly as good as he was in the previous codex. However, his points seem to have gone down a little bit, at least.
Yeah, which that's pretty nice. And like, I'm glad we still have Shrike in there, but like Sicarius, Tellian, Cronus, Pedro Cantor, Vulcan, Corsaro Khan, and so on, like all those guys aren't in there anymore. So either they're in supplements, or I guess the Finecast models were just too problematic and GW decided to stop making them.
I guess they were just like, enough of these guys. It's interesting. I'm looking at the color palettes here because they're doing that again. I guess.
Yeah. It has like a how to paint section in there, which is really nice.
Yeah. They don't mention really any of the current paint line. I don't really see, and a lot of the paint names seem to have changed. It's not Abaddon Black anymore. It's Chaos Black now.
Yeah, that's the primer, and they have Blood Angels Red in there too, or Blood Red in there, that's one of the contrast paints.
Yeah.
They're just working with contrast paints now. That's all. I don't see anything strange about that.
Okay, I guess that's not weird.
But man, I do like that section though. Like, yeah, I'm not seeing Primaris guys, and I think they're back down to 25mm bases, which that was not a change I saw coming.
Interesting.
But it's really good to see so many back banners again, especially ones like the kind of handcrafted back banners. Like I always like that sort of thing, so that's a nice throwback. And there's also a lot of scratch built terrain in there, which I kind of felt like GW scenery builders had lost their edge and were kind of working too much with existing plastic kits. But this is like all scratch built. Like I love those. It's either scratch built or stuff that we don't know about yet. Because like there's that great picture of Imperial Fist defending these really neat bunkers. I think from some orcs or whatever, and those bunkers have got to be a new kit. And there's like Raven Guard taking it to the Tau over what looks like some sort of new Tau terrain. Yeah,
these bunkers look suspiciously like Land Raiders. Interestingly enough.
Oh well, like I said though, they're either getting their conversion chops back, or this is a kit we don't know about. But man, I love. There's even like that whole painted miniature section is great because there's like, well, I'm surprised there wasn't a link to the Citadel painting app in there because it kind of seemed like the sort of thing to go with the tutorials. But like among all those like battle shots, like there's a great picture of some Ultramarines holding on against some Tyranids and stuff. But there's this one great shot of these Land Raiders speeding through a forest, and they blurred out the background, and it's like the photo art the Forge World folks do. Like it's really convincing.
Yes. So I am looking at the back page here now. And they have a map of the galaxy. Interestingly enough, the Cicatrix Maledictum, not there, not pictured.
It probably closed.
I haven't had time to read the fluff yet, honestly.
Yeah.
So
I haven't finished reading Vigilus 2, so I'm guessing that's probably happens at the end of that book.
Yeah, it closes, right?
Yeah, I think that's what
Imperium
happens.
wins, it closes.
That's why there's no Vigilus 3, because we won.
Right. We don't need another Vigilus.
Right. But the thing that surprises me is like on the back, instead of a summary sheet, is just some pictures of models. And like there's some good models in there. There's a lot of names I recognize, like, I think Ali Morrison did some extremely cool Marines in there who have some pretty fabulous hair. But it's weird. The summary sheet was on page 41. You're just kind of in the middle of the book.
Yeah, that's a weird place for it.
Yeah, it's not really very useful because I was like flipping to the back of a book to get all those rules.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know. It's an interesting direction they've taken with this book, and I'm kind of surprised. We haven't really heard other people talk about this much, but I guess it's just, I bet it's our contact at Games Workshop. I bet it's us. We reached out to them a while ago for review copies, and they're like, "Yeah, sure, we'll send you these," and they sent us this one. So
yeah, it's weird. It seems like. There's a lot of ways that this book is diverging from the other current books, but I got to tell you, Campbell, I'm a fan.
Oh, me too. I like the lighter form factor.
I like how it's lighter, how it just seems to have a lot less content.
Well, a lot less superfluous content. It's still got the core of what Space Marines are. Like, it's still have a Nation of No Fear, which is in there. It works a little differently now. I don't really think I understand it, but I'm guessing it's probably going to tie in some 9th edition rules I don't really get yet.
Yeah, maybe they're future-proofing with a lot of this.
Yeah, well, there's always a thing where it's like Space Marines are usually the first codex of a new edition. So I think we're looking at the first codex of a new edition that we just haven't seen announced yet.
That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of my confusion is coming from, is that, maybe this is just all future proofing.
Yeah, but if this is the new direction they're going in, I'm really into it. I'm very excited about this new direction. It's a bit of a throwback, but in a really good way. Mm-hmm. It reminds me a lot of when I started playing the game, so I'm really down with it.
Yeah, it reminds me probably around 15 years ago, I'd say. Like, that's when it reminds me of a lot of the stuff that was coming out there, which I think was a good time. A good time.
Yep. Probably something like that. But hey, well, you know what? I look forward to using it against you in just a week at Nova.
That's right. I can't wait to take this brand new Space Marines Codex with Marnius Calgar on the cover and take it and use it at Nova against you, Mr. Crumbles.
Hey, I've got rules in there, so I think I might actually have the upper hand this time around.
I think so too. But we'll see. All right, gang. That was our review of the brand new Space Marines Codex. A ton of fun. Like, very excited to use it in battle. It's going to be good. I'm really happy about it.
Yeah, big shakeup right before Nova, but I think the game could need it.
I love a good shakeup and a shakedown.
Ooh,
or just shakes.
I'm a big shake.
Okay, here's something.
I thought you were lactose intolerant.
I am lactose intolerant. I've had like a little bit of a milkshake here and there, but I've never actually purchased a milkshake before.
You've only stolen them.
No, I've like my wife has like given me a taste of a milkshake she has purchased, but I find the idea of a milkshake somewhat gross. So I've never bought one.
Well, in Rhode Island, they're known as awful awfuls. In Massachusetts, they're known as fraps. And if you order a milkshake in some place in Rhode Island, you will just get a cup of milk with ice in it.
That sounds disgusting.
It is. Don't do it.
Why is Rhode Island so bad?
Rhode Island is in a weird place, but if you're lucky, they'll have some autocrat coffee syrup in there, so it'll taste kind of like fake coffee. Just sucking down a good half gallon of milk with coffee syrup in it on a nice hot August day.
Oh, wow. This is a terrible country we live in. There's nothing redeeming about this place whatsoever. No, so let's move on and redeem ourselves.
Ooh, yeah.
With everybody's favorite segment, Fact or Fan Fiction. So, Campbell, please give me that Gucci stuff. Thanks for that.
Sorry. I was not expecting that statement. All right, well, you better buckle yourself in because this one's a little bit girthier than some of the others. Not as bad as that fantasy one I did a long time ago, but this one's a little long.
Oh, great.
The Imperial Guard soldiers were dug deep into their trench waiting for the order to go over the top and purge the Xeno scum from the trench 200 yards out all the way across no man's land. Or for said Xeno to attempt the same.
Okay.
These trenches were miles away from anywhere important for any of the commanders to care about, so it would often be weeks between receiving any orders, and they were often the same: hold the line. These guardsmen didn't even have a commissar for Emperor's sake, and they were just thankful that they didn't have to fight anyone and that they had a very high chance of seeing the next day. But with this, they were often very bored and lonely, especially with the Feast of the Emperor's Ascension being tomorrow. While most of the Imperium adds preparing for the feast with family and friends, these guardsmen were in a midi trench, cold and alone. In the other trench, the Eldar were equally as lonely, for many of them had been away from those closest to them for many years, and without the Mon-K assaulting them, they had a lot of free time to reflect on the past. The Eldar knew that the Mon-K had a holy day the next day, and were more than likely preparing for an assault, so many Eldar were on high alert. One Eldar warrior, barely considered an adult by their standards, was especially lonely, for it was her first time away from the craft world. She was just told of the likelihood of a Mon-K assault, as was very nervous, but she was very confident in her years of training that she would prevail if the Mon-K were to attack.
I hate this.
She was on the forefront of the Eldar lines, if you could even call it a line. There were only a handful of Eldar in the area. It was a dark and surprisingly cold night when she noticed something. There were small ice particles falling from the sky, and her heart stood still. ... There was an uproar in the Imperial Trench, and the Mon-K were about to attack. She knew it! She and her comrades all trained their weapons to the Imperial lines waiting for the attack, but it never came. They then heard it. The few guardsmen in the other trench were singing. It was horribly out of tone, and the beat was something, but they were singing nonetheless. She was taught from birth that the Mon-K all were soulless barbarians, either just being suicidal servants of a skeleton or psychopathic murderers for chaos. But the moment didn't change, that outright for her, she still knew that the Mon-K were barbarians, but maybe just not as soulless as she once thought. She then began to drift to sleep to the sound of the Mon-K songs. She was the first Eldar to wake, and what she saw terrified her to her core. There was a Mon-K getting out of his trench and making his way towards them. She grabbed her rifle and aimed down the sights when she saw that he carried no weapon. And then she heard other Mon-K yelling and signaling for their comrade to get back in the trench, but he did not. She noticed how cautious he was with his movements, hands in clear view outstretched in front of him. She got a closer look at his face and noticed how young and scared he was. She then saw out of the corner of her eye that her comrade was going to kill this Mon-K. She quickly put her hand over her comrade's rifle and told her not to shoot. She then did something that she would have never imagined herself doing. She got up out of her trench and started walking through the snow-covered no man's land to meet this Mon-K. Both trenches had their weapons ready and were shouting for them to, quote, "Get the fuck back," unquote. But the two did not. They slowly, over the snow-covered ground, made their way towards each other.
Quote.
The guardsman and Eldar stopped 2 yards away from each other. The Eldar saw the fear in the guardsman's eyes, and he slowly reached his right hand out. She stood there for a moment, looking over this young, scared human who just walked 100 yards with guns trained on him from both sides before she extended her arm to meet his. The second her hand touched his, all the guardsman let out a big breath, as he has been holding it, and the fear-filled face he once wore was replaced with a warm but still nervous smile. She was shocked as the guardsman pulled her in for a hug, but her temporary shock faded, and she soon returned the favor. It was at this time that the two realized that their comrades had joined them in no man's land and started attempting to communicate with each other. The guardsman saw his friend starting some game where they kicked a ball around, so he walked over to her to show her, and after watching how the game was played, she tried it and quickly defeated her opponent. The elders saw that most of the humans started talking amongst themselves, and few brought out some bottles filled with brownish liquid. The human left her side to retrieve 2 glasses of this brownish liquid. Did this Mon-K want her to drink it? The guardsman saw the puzzled look on her face, so he took a little sip from his glass to show that it was okay to drink. The Eldar then took a large gulp before she spit the horrid drink out. The guardsman, who had just finished his drink, burst out laughing at the Elder's reaction to a little sipe letting her mischievous side get the better of her. She pushed him onto the ground, and that action caused all the guardsmen to get on edge ready to attack. Thankfully, the fallen guardsman grabbed a handful of snow and threw it at the Eldar. The Eldar looked at the guardsman, and both started laughing. Later on in the day, the Eldar and guardsmen who first met sat next to each other when a guardsman tied some green leaves to a stick and held it over their heads. The Eldar did not have to be psychic to see the embarrassment on the guardsman's red face, and his friend laughed, but it didn't take long to figure out what the leaves meant, and her face's color quickly matched that of the guardsman. Looking over quickly, the Eldar landed a quick kiss on the guardsman's cheek. She did not know it was possible for a human to turn that shade. After some more laughing and drinking, a rillery was heard in the distance that quickly reminded them all that the galaxy was still at war.
What?
A rillery.
A rillery.
You know, those big guns that make a lot of noise, I assume.
Okay, well, what's
a rillery?
What's a rillery? Is that like one rillery? Just one?
Oh, yeah, a rillery. Well, the thing is, I'm feeling a rillery here right now, so I want to get to the end of this story. I'm feeling a rillery bad about this story, actually. Both sides said their goodbyes and went back to their respective trenches. After a while, only the young Eldar and guardsmen remained in no man's land. The Eldar pulled the guardsman in for a real kiss, which left the guardsman speechless and as red Magnus before walking back to their trenches. The end.
Thanks, I hate it. That was bad. That was real bad. And
that was a rillery bad, yeah.
The best part was it was really short, too. So that was good. Thanks.
According to this word count, it's about 1,237 words, so that's pretty okay. That's only twice as long as you needed something to be to submit a pitch to Black Library, so this is basically as good as 2 pitches to Black Library.
Well, it sounds familiar.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've heard this story before.
Well, a lot of Warhammer fiction is based on real military history.
Yes.
So I think this is just in line with anything else we've heard so far.
That being said, I'm going to go fan fiction. Because it's written terribly and is also boring.
This is truthfully fan fiction. This is The Day of Peace by one damn guardsman.
Wow.
Who has also written such other stories as Nothing. This is the only story he's ever written.
That's I was one thing that did make me feel good.
Uh-huh.
Which is, very rare for these Factor fan fiction segments where I feel good about things. Is that the Eldar and the Guardsmen didn't engage in sexual congress.
No, it's a very PG take. Although he did turn Red Magnus.
Red Magnus. That's
I turned Red Magnus.
That could be coded language.
Ooh, you're right.
Like when you find a stash of woods porn and you turn to your friends and you say, "Man, this Hustler mag makes me feel really Red Magnus."
This partially decomposed piece of woods porn, that great piece of all child's development. It's a very Stand By Me sort of moment when you find woods porn.
I wonder.
It's also a very American one. I've had to explain this to multiple people who were not American. I'm like, no, it's a thing. It's a thing that happens to every young lad.
Okay, so I think that woods porn being a part of American life is a real thing. Okay,
it's a very real part of American life. I'm not even joking.
In European life, I don't think woods porn exists, but I will bet dollars to fucking donuts that woods porn or desert porn or whatever the fuck it is exists in Australia. So listeners, write in and tell us your woods porn experience.
If you've been in the outback and found some woods porn, please let us know.
Oh, our fucking European listeners.
I don't want to see it. I just want to hear about it.
Our European listeners are like, what are these two idiots talking about?
I mean, we've been told multiple times that we are extremely American, and we are just cementing that fact now.
Woods porn. I'm sorry I brought it up.
I'm not.
I'm sorry about so much.
I bet your face is really Red Magnus right now.
Okay. All right. Let's get out of here. Let's do some plugs. Big news. Big news, Campbell. We have new shirts in the Spreadshirt, shop.spreadshirt.com/40k Badcast. Brand new shirts. I know this comes as a surprise to you because I make the shirts and all the designs on them. So this is surprising to you because you wouldn't know about it unless I told you.
No, I would not know about these shirts that were posted to the internet mysteriously from my IP address that I happen to have all the PNGs for. No, I wouldn't know anything about that. So why don't you tell me all about these two shirts? Like, for instance, all right, so first off, just to set you up, these are shirts for team sports and team anime, namely for the Badcast Beatdown and any sort of future.
The name of the event is the Badcast Beatdown 2019 Sports versus Anime, please.
That is the full Badcast Beatdown is the general event. That's the hopefully annual event. This is Badcast Beatdown 2019 Sports versus Anime, which would be very different from Badcast Beatdown 2020 Sports versus Anime.
Well, it might not be Sports versus Anime in 2020.
Oh, this is true. You'll need to design 2 new shirts, I guess. So why don't you? All right. So anyone can see that the team sports shirt is very clearly based on the film poster for Major League, starring Charlie Sheen. But what are the anime
Tom Berenger and Corbin Burnson? And Wesley Snipes.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a star-studded cast. They're gems, one and all. But that team anime shirt, do you happen to know, like, could you fill me in? Inquiring minds want to know what anime that might be sort of referring to or drawing from.
I can, actually. The team anime design for the Badcast Beatdown 2019 Sports vs. Anime shirt came directly out of a butt, and it was pooped into a toilet. And then I reached into the toilet and I grabbed it and I beheld it with my eyes and I saw it. And that's the inspiration I got for when I created the team anime shirt for the Badcast Beatdown 2019 Sports vs. Anime.
Extremely cool. Yeah. Okay. I love that series, actually. It's I think the anime has outpaced the manga on that one, so it's gotten a little weird in the later seasons. But yeah, Poop from a Butt is really good.
Real talk. I was thinking about if we do the Badcast Beatdown 2020, I was thinking about doing it comics versus manga.
Ooh, okay. Oh, that'd be fun to do again.
Yeah.
All right.
That's just a little part in the kimono. Part in the kimono for you listeners.
I think the term is actually inside baseball.
Oh, God damn it. I'm quitting the show. No, I'm not. But we do have new shirts. They are themed on the teams for the Badcast Beatdown. You can buy them even if you're not coming to the Badcast Beatdown. They're both, I think, really fun designs. I bought one of each because the anime, if you want to talk about the thing behind the anime thing, please do. But I do actually like the design a whole lot. I think it looks great.
No, in fact, it's it's sort of referring to an anime called Pop Team Epic, which is basically making fun of every other anime. It's very funny. But that design actually looks way too good on yellow, which is something I was not expecting. The problem is yellow doesn't look good on me, so I did not get the yellow version of the shirt because...
Or on any human.
I will say any human, but on me especially, I look kind of like an Idaho Gold potato. Like it is not a good... It does not bring out... It brings out all the jaundice in my skin, and I'm not a big fan of how that looks. But on the shirt, it looks fucking dope. So I got on purple, which is
the royal color. A partially peeled banana. It's just white and yellow. Or somebody squashed a Twinkie.
Oh, no. Well, anyway, we have those two shirts and a bunch of other ones you've probably seen before.
We haven't had new shirts in a while, so get over there and check them out. They're super good. You can also find us on Patreon, where you can support the show. We have 3 levels of support. It's all very fun. We do episodes that aren't about 40k or Warhammer, and are more about just, stuff that we're into. And we've got another one of those coming out either this weekend or the week after. And we are going to be doing another show, regular Badcast episode, next week. It's going to be our pre-Nova show, and we will have a guest for that. And we're going to talk about our plans and what we're bringing to Nova Open then. And additionally, as you all well know, you can find us on social media. Twitter is probably the best place to catch both of us. I am at DB_sleazy. He is at Brother SRM. And I haven't tweeted in a while. That's not true. Oh, my God. I was tweeting at Margaret Weiss, the author of the Dragonlance series. Over the weekend, because our friend Jeff Jenkins was talking about Dragonlance, and I was talking to him, and then Margaret Weiss liked and responded to our tweets.
That's awesome.
Which is absolutely wild.
That's extremely cool.
I didn't know she was so online.
Yeah, that is surprising.
So sometimes Twitter is good.
Dope. That is nice. I've made the very conscious and intelligent decision to stay the fuck away from social media for the last few weeks, and it's been very good for the old brain health.
A wonderful development that happens on Twitter is our listeners will tweet me pictures of birds they see and ask me what they are, which I love. I think it's fun. A listener tweeted a picture of a sharp-shinned hawk, and I think I correctly identified it for them just the other day.
I get tweeted pictures of bread to me sometimes because I've got a bread baking buddy from our little listener base. I think it's Blood-Covered Magpie. And we just talk about bread. It's really nice. It's a very wholesome interaction, kind of what social media should be about, I think.
It is nice. Have you posted pictures of Marnius Calgar to your social media accounts?
Yes, I did. I put them on Twitter at Brother SRM on Twitter, and also on my Tumblr, cam2d.tumblr.com, where you can see him in all kinds of horrifying close-up detail.
We also have an email account, and y'all have been sending some great emails lately.
Yeah, if we haven't gotten back to you yet, it's because we have gotten a lot, and they've been... I want to be thoughtful when I reply to things. So we've gotten some very soul-bearing sort of things, a lot of pictures of pets, a lot of pictures of Warhams, a lot of just nice interactions, and I'm looking forward to meeting a lot of y'all at Nova, and I'm looking forward to replying to your emails when I eventually get around to writing to them.
Yes, same here, and it is always a joy when I get that little notification on my phone when we've got a new email in our inbox, and I love hearing from y'all. Y'all have sent in some great We Make the Call questions recently, and please keep them coming. Anything you want to talk about, you got a question, you want to hear our take on it, you need some advice, just fucking get at us. We want to hear it.
I will say the one thing that does actually keep me from applying to some things is seeing, I'm like, ooh, this would be a good way to make the call question. I don't want to blow this now.
Yes, that's a good point. Some of the questions are good enough that they're either full segments or they are good questions for that segment. Also, I will implore you all to visit goonhammer.com. I do a weekly column on Necromunda there. Campbell does sporadic updates about stuff that he's working on there. But in reality, it is a fantastic resource for all things Warhammer. The people behind it are really trying to have it be a repository of seriously good quality material for hobbyists. So please go check it out. That's Goonhammer, Goon hammer.com.
Elevating the discourse one post at a time.
Any more plugs there, buddy?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, then it's tradition around here to leave the show on a quote, an inspirational quote from the world of Warhammer. So, Campbell, What do you got for me?
Look to your labors and trust to your faith. All else is beyond you.
I mean, I've said it once before, many times before, and I'll say it again, but that's fucking true. We're the 40k Badcast. We're bad at 40k. So can you. We'll see you in the next cartoon, which will be next week. Adios.
Hell yeah.
Okay, gang, it's your boy DZ here, recording from home on my crappy Plantronics headset microphone. I got some news, an update for you for the show. There's no extra show this week. We talked a lot about it in the episode you just listened to, and thank you for that, by the way. I hope you enjoyed it. But we're not going to be doing it. Unfortunately, Campbell cannot make it to Nova this time around. He's dealing with some family stuff. He's fine. You know, we're going to miss him. We love him. And we'll be back with the show after Nova to talk about at least my experiences with the con. Again, thank you for listening to the episode, but we'll be back in early September with our Nova breakdown. So, hope you enjoy that. Peace.